I've got some good news for you. You're likely 50 to 90% of the way through the hard work necessary to build your net worth to the point where you're financially independent. It turns out saving that first $100,000 is the hardest part. And Warren Buffett's business partner, Charlie Munger, famously said, saving that first $100,000 is the hardest. Let me read the quote. The first $100,000 is a beep, but you got to do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit. Now, why am I saying that? Why did Charlie Munger say this 30 years ago? And it's important to note, Charlie's statement was 30 years ago. We're going to come back to what $100,000 in today's dollars would be. But the reason Charlie says this is the vast majority of Americans don't have nearly enough money saved for retirement. And I want you to have a comfortable retirement. So I'm going to share why your money builds over time and how that first base of $100,000 really helps a lot. But first, let's look at what Americans have. How many Americans have $100,000 saved? This is from the Wall Street Journal. Now, this is just for retirement savings. And you can see that almost half of all Americans have $0 saved in retirement savings. Another 9% have less than $10,000. So now we're at 60%. Another 13% have less than $50,000, and another 7% have less than $100,000. So 80% of all Americans have less than this $100,000. But let me show you the magic that really starts to take place once you save that first $100,000. Now, this is assuming that you can save $10,000 a year, which I know is not easy to do. The median household in the United States makes about $75,000. After taxes, that means most of those folks are probably bringing home about $5,000 a month, about $60,000 a year. So saving $10,000 is over 10%. It's pretty close to 15% savings rate, which is not easy to do. But let's just, for the sake of argument, use this chart. This is saving $10,000 a year and getting a 7% return on it. Now, you're not going to get a 7% return with your money in the bank. So this is somebody that has some of their money exposed to the stock market, right? To beat inflation over time. This is probably a 60 to 80% stock portfolio with the rest in short duration, high quality bonds. Really the primary job of those bonds is to provide stability and some income. Okay, so 7% a year, $10,000 a year. How long does it take you to save your first $100,000? Almost 8 years, 7.84 years. And you can see the blue numbers at the bottom, that's 78% of that $100,000. 78% of that, 78,000, is money that you've put in. And the other 22% is the growth of your money. And that's important. We're going to keep an eye on this. So that's the first $100,000. Now we have that base. And now that base, that money's going to start working hard for us. So what happens over the next 5 years? Over the next 5 years, if we keep saving $10,000 a year, now instead of it taking almost 8 years, it's only going to take 5 years to get that next $100,000 to take us to $200,000. But look at this number here. It's 51% of the money now. It's almost 50-50. Half of the money is money that you've put in to get from 100,000 to 200,000, but the other half of the money is your money growing for you. And then to go from 200,000 to 300,000, that next $100,000 increment takes a little less than 4 years, and importantly, only about 40% of that is new money that you've put in, 38%, and 62% is your money working hard for you. So your money is exploding in a good way. Your net worth is exploding in a good way, and we need to get there as soon as we can so that we now have time to work on our side. And why is this so important? Earlier I shared what the retirement savings is. But a fair critique of that would be, hey, Azul, people have other assets other than just their retirement savings, other than just their 401k, other than their IRA. So what's their total net worth, including if they own a house? What's the value of that? So this is by the Federal Reserve. It's a survey of consumer finance, and this shows the median household net worth. So if there's 2 adults in a household, this would be both of those adults, what their net worth is together. And it's median, meaning half the people are doing better, half the people are doing worse. So it's a good number. You can also see what the average net worth is on this chart, but I think the median's the better number to look at because it gets skewed by a couple, imagine Jeff Bezos is in this data set, right? He's going to skew these numbers. So people less than 35 years old, their median net worth, which is the value of all of their assets less the value of their liabilities. So for most people, it's all of our savings accounts, retirement accounts, regular savings, and then also our home equity. Less than 35 years old, the median net worth is $39,000. 35 to 44, that median net worth goes to $135,600. 45 to 54, it's almost $250,000. 55 to 64, it's $364,000. So to get to this $250,000 benchmark, it takes people between 45 and 54. And at that point, they don't have a whole lot of time working for them to help them achieve their goals. Let's keep going. We talked about 55 to 64, a little less than 365,000. This is when people start retiring. 65 to 74 is when most people are going to retire. That's $410,000. So you can see as people start to retire, their net worth goes up for a little bit. And then at 75 plus, that starts to drop, and the median net worth is 1/3 of $1 million, $335,600. Okay, let's go back to this chart. When we left it, we had gone to 300,000. How long does it take us to go from 300,000 to 400,000? You can see it's a little over 3 years. And importantly, the money we're putting in is for 30% of that growth, and 70% of that next $100,000 comes from our money working hard for us. Okay, let's keep going, and now let's go from 700 to 800,000. That $100,000 takes a little over 1.5 years, so you can see things really starting to accelerate. 700 to 800,000, you can see over 80% of that growth comes from our money working hard for us. And then the last 900,000 to $1 million, that takes a little over a year. It takes 1.35 months, so 6 years, which would be about 16 months. And you can see almost 90% of that comes from our money working hard for us. So why is this important? First off, Charlie Munger talked about doing what we can to save that first $100,000. That quote was from 1994. If we look at inflation over that period of time, I think the quote should be, do what we need to do to get to that first $250,000. And then we can start easing off the gas, but let the magic of compounding work in our favor. It's really, really important that we make good decisions in how we save, but also how we enjoy the journey. And that's why I made this video up here about why retiring at 65 might be a big mistake. I want you to make the right decision for you, and that's why I made this video up here about when to retire. I'll see you in it. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.